Chelsea Flower Show.
Hello and welcome to the highlights from the RHS Chelsea Flower Show 2022, an event supported by the Newt in Somerset.
Now, being back in our springtime slot in May for the first time in 3 years has been glorious. Everyone here has really pulled out all the stops.
I'll tell you what though, the weather's been a bit changeable, isn't it?
The weather hasn't been perfect, has it? I mean, today, finally, we have sunshine. It is warm, we're all warming up, but there was one day when we had torrential rain, lightning, thunder, the lot.
Everyone ran into the Great Pavilion, you know, it was crammed in there and the sun came out. Yeah, I mean, during the build, it was 3 weeks of such dry weather, and in fact, our gardens need rain, and the last week, you know, the rain and now the sunshine, everything's growing at a serious rate.
I know, the gardens are really coming into their own now, aren't they? It's finally, but it was actually warmer, I think, in Chelsea last September than it was in May this year. But anyway, it's not stopped the crowds, they've all loved it.
It's the Chelsea Flower Show, everyone loves it.
They certainly do. Funny you should say that, because we had a great start to the week. Press day opened, the celebrities, they all flocked in to see the show, and it all culminated, of course, with one very special visitor that everyone wanted to see.
I love everything about Chelsea. I go around all the gardens, get loads of ideas. By the time I leave, I've got a suitcase.
Flowers, there's a couple of them here, which is great. You're into flowers.
Every year that I come, I'm more and more inspired.
It's the creativity that I love. These people are artists, and what they do, you know, plants are their palette.
This is my first time at the Chelsea Flower Show. Now I'm here, I don't really understand why I've not been before.
You can go around anywhere and see anything you want to. There's something for everybody.
I'm very glad to be here. Wish I'd have brought more money and a lot more bags.
No one knew for sure until just an hour or so ago if the Queen was going to make it to Chelsea this year, but she has. She's about to arrive, and people here will be delighted to see her. She's come to Chelsea more than 50 times during her 70-year reign, and given that it's her Platinum Jubilee this year, it will be all the more special. This year, the Queen is travelling in her new golf buggy. In fact, it's the first time she's been seen using it in public. Chelsea is a highlight of the Queen's calendar, and her new mode of transport means she'll still be able to enjoy meeting the garden designers and the growers she has done for so many years. For Danny Clark and Tayshan Hayden-Smith, they are first-timers here at Chelsea, and the Queen has just been to see their community garden. You're first-timers, and here you are with the Queen looking at your garden.
Well, the fact that she's even acknowledged the garden, I think, was something that I felt really proud about. And, you know, I can say that I had a lovely chat with the Queen.
I was excited, I have to say. I didn't think I would be, but I was. It's exceeded all our expectations, Sophie.
There you are. We didn't know if she was coming or not.
We didn't. How exciting. So she's seen it.
She has seen it. You put so much work into designing this.
Yes.
And you're so pleased with it. What did she make of it?
She was thrilled. She was delighted to see the lily of the valley, which is one of her favourite flowers.
What was that like for you?
Oh, it was good. I like meeting Her Majesty. Yeah, it's a special thing. And she always says that my gardens are the best too.
Yes, is that what she said? Did she say you should be best in show?
Exactly, yes.
Oh, there you go, we now know.
Well, it was a particular highlight for me to get the opportunity to show my garden to the Queen, and she seemed to like it as much as the bees did. Well, this year the show gardens have been exceptional. from the grand sculptures to the tiny planting details, and even highlighting the work of charities and community initiatives. For Chelsea veteran Andy Sturgeon, it was how gardens can help with mental health that was the inspiration behind his design, which he explained to Adam when he went to meet him.
It sort of works wonderfully on lots of levels, but also you've got these lovely curvaceous walls.
The walls define all these different places within the garden, and they've got different atmospheres. So here it's calm and protected. You're partially enclosed. It feels safe. In the middle of the garden, the walls all come together. It's turmoil. It's almost chaos. It's a little bit uncomfortable.
Where did you start from with this garden?
Well, I was approached to do the Chelsea Flower Show garden during, I think, the second lockdown, and so I was acutely aware of the state of people's mental health and the importance of it with my kids, my family, and it just seemed like a really amazing opportunity and really good timing to get people talking about mental health and the importance of talking about it.
This is a real garden, and from what I understand, it's going to have an afterlife.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to go and be recreated in Barrow-in-Furness in Cumbria, and it will then become a centre for therapy and all sorts of other uses. And so it will be of a great benefit to many people who need that space and that place. But the fact that it's going to continue and these benches will go up there and people will sit on these benches and feel them.
That's a shame, really, because I was hoping for one.
Yeah, I wanted one as well, but anyway. But yeah, it's going to have this other life, and that was really one of the draws for me to come back and do a Chelsea garden.
I'm going to say this anyway, because I've known you for a long time. Good luck with the judging. You're not going to need it, boy. You're not.
And of course he didn't. Andy got a well-deserved gold medal. Now, it's been wonderful to see the Great Pavilion back in all its splendour. It has been bursting with colour and beautiful blooms all week. Carol Klein couldn't resist getting in here early to soak it all up.
It's wonderful to be back and to see this true Chelsea colour pervading the whole pavilion, and in no place more so than on this scintillating stand. How about this for a novel idea? They've taken all the colours of these beautiful ornamental plants and used them in a little wildflower planting just beyond, from this lovely dahlia dreamy nights with these rich magenta flowers, and then a paler version, dreamy fantasy, with soft corally coloured flowers, and punctuated everywhere with these great heads of alliums, tall stems of lupins, and salvias adding this dainty touch. I think it's brilliant. I can hardly take my eyes off it. Well, clematis are very colourful climbers, but with them, that colour range is limited. Everything through white, pale blue, rich blues, deep purples, right through to lovely crimson like this nubia. Often in our gardens, we're looking down at flowers, but clematis give us the opportunity to use our colours in a vertical way, climbing high up towards the sky. These are fuchsias, one of the most popular of our plants, not just because of the colour it provides, but also because of their habit, because here everything hangs downwards. The whole thing is pendulous, and you really feel, especially when they're displayed like this, that you can look up into them and drink in that glorious, glorious colour. It'd make a very fine hat, don't you think? When's Ascot? Look at this glorious Santadecia. It's called Sonia, and no wonder. It's so vivid, you almost need your dark glasses. What Santadecia provide you with is these big blocks of really intense colour, from brilliant yellows, searing oranges, deep rich purples to palest pinks. Aren't they glorious? There's so much inspiring colour packed into the Great Pavilion.
Stunning to see such colour this year. And here on the Jacques Ormond stand, you know, they do bulbs, you can plant them in the autumn. Alliums can be planted in the autumn, but they can also be planted now, straight into your garden for a little bit of instant impact. And they come back year on year, a perennial bulb. And we see all these purple alliums floating through borders, but I'm into the white ones too. And I've got this Mount Everest on my garden out there, and the bees love it. They're all over it still. I got stung by a bee the other day.
Did you?
Yeah, 20 quid for a pot of honey.
You've been collecting those jokes, Joe, all week. I love the alliums, but my favourite flower here at Chelsea this year is definitely the Dame Deborah James Rose, which was named after Deborah, who has terminal bowel cancer and who didn't think she'd make it to Chelsea this year, but she did. And there have been so many people queuing up there.
I haven't seen it.
It's amazing.
What colour is it?
Pink, white and pink. It's
gorgeous.
Beautiful over there. Well, it wasn't just the flowers that were the talk of Chelsea. Rachel Detain was first to take a look around the smaller sanctuary gardens and discover the planting styles that were making their mark.
A sanctuary is exactly how I describe this design by Tony Woods. It's so immersive. You really feel that you're in amongst the planting. And the idea is that you're taking your daily commute to your home office through the garden. And the scene is really set by these wonderful Betula nigra with their peeling bark and just that very delicate foliage. I particularly like this sweep of planting. You've got phlox just releasing that perfume into the air. I love the opium poppy in that really dark sort of crushed blackcurrant colour. And also caught my eye is the honesty. At the moment it's got these bright green seed heads, and of course through the summer those are going to dry and become more transparent. Who wouldn't enjoy a daily commute through a garden like this? Frederick White's garden celebrates fine cell work, who aim to help prisoners produce beautiful quality needlework. In the structure, for example, you've got these wonderful woven willow panels just set into them, and then the willow is followed through there with living willow. This is pollarded, so you get this wonderful mad multi-stemmed effect. And then all around it, we've got a veritable tapestry of beautiful underplanting, lots of gorgeous perennials. I'm particularly drawn to this corner here, which just has a lovely peony called Coral Charm, and then the Aquilegia, that pale, soft, buttery yellow coming through. To me, it looks like a Battenberg cake in planting form. whole thing is utterly delicious.
Medals Day is the most important day of the show for the garden designers and the exhibitors, as it's the culmination of years of hard work. This year, Nikki Chapman joined Carol Klein out on the showground at the crack of dawn to see the highs and lows of all the results.
On behalf of the RHS, we're delighted to present you with your gold medal.
Can't believe it.
You're done? The rain's not going to deter you, is it, today?
I can't believe it.
We have an amazing team. We love them all.
Yeah,
it was a hive mind.
What do you get?
Gold.
Congratulations.
Thank you
Absolutely brilliant. It really is a marvellous display. It's lovely. How many golds up?
This is my second Chelsea and my second gold.
I'm delighted to present you with your silver medal.
Thank you very much. I'm honoured. Thank you.
Boo! Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Very, 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 very well done. It's absolutely brilliant.
Congratulations.
What do I need to say?
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
Happy birthday, Pedal.
Happy birthday. And what have you got as a birthday present for your medal?
A lovely gold medal.
Oh, wonderful. You couldn't have a better birthday present than
I
that,
get much
could
better
you?
than that.
A 9th gold medal for Andy Sturgeon. Well done, Andy. Where are you? You should have been here. We wanted to give it to you personally, but you can still celebrate in style for the rest of the day.
On behalf of the RHS, I'm delighted to present you with your gold medal. Well done.
Congratulations, Ruth. Can you spare a few words for all the tears and the emotion?
Just thank you, my entire team. We've had an absolute dream team.
Does this one mean as much as the very first gold medal that you got?
It means more.
Does it?
On behalf of the RHS, Tom, we'd like to present you with your gold medal.
That face says it all.
James, we did it.
Great.
Oh, I can't tell you how pleased I am.
We'd like to present you with your silver gilt.
Oh,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Danny, where's my hug?
Oh!
Yeah, I like Daddy's looking at me first.
On behalf of the RHS, I'm delighted to present you with your gold.
Hug everybody in the grounds and I'm going to let you
Who else
celebrate.
wants a hug?
And Angelica Bell caught up with a man who's waited quite some time to win another RHS gold medal.
I'm on the Boodles Travel Garden, which showcases some of the most beautiful and unusual plants in the world, with its creator, Tom Hoblin. Welcome, Tom, and congratulations on your gold medal. Has it sunk in?
Not yet. I mean, it was only an hour ago that I won it, and I really haven't had time to kind of take it on board. I mean, I phoned my wife and everyone like that, but I need to sort of sit down and take this in because it's just, I mean, I came here 12 years ago, and, you know, it's my first gold for years, so I'm so thrilled.
And now I'm interviewing you.
Yeah,
So it's
I
all
know,
happening,
I know,
isn't it?
I know.
But this garden is absolutely beautiful. So let's talk about the inspiration for it.
Yes, so it's to celebrate a journey done by the founding chairman of Boodles, Anthony Wainwright. It's 60 years ago. He went around the world in 16 days, which is no mean feat in those days. And so they asked me to sort of represent this in the form of a garden. But rather than try and do all parts of the world, I just focused on the sort of his Far Eastern leg. So the whole garden's got a bit of a sort of Far Eastern, it's almost sort of Zen-like feel to it.
Yeah, it really does. So let's pick out some of the things and features you put in, because there's a table and chairs, which are really cute, and you can tell that's that influence from that part of the world.
Yeah, it's sort of Chinese noodle bench, it's inspired by, but it's made in the UK by a sort of master craftsman in Lincolnshire out of wood from ash dieback. Actually had to be felled because of ash dieback, and he made this wonderful bench and table out of it. And he did sort of shusugi ban, which is that burning of the wood, but then he pickled it with vinegar to bring out the sort of chestnutty hue in it.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm really loving the water and how it ripples. Let's talk about that and how you achieved it.
Yeah, well, that was a tough one. I had this wonderful water chap called Bamba who I told him my idea, and he said we need to go and cast sand ripples on West Wittering Beach. So we literally made 9 casts of different sand ripples when the tide went out, and then made them into these moulds, which we could sort of cast. I think there were 9 different sort of patterns.
Yeah.
And it's just getting the flow of water right, so it constantly ripples. Obviously, you know, the river represents journey, you know, from going around the world, and that was it. So yeah, it worked really well.
I love that. I used to go to West Wittering Beach with my children when they were little. But if you want to create this sort of courtyard feeling at home, what could you do?
That's a really good point, because obviously I've made this to be a real garden, and it is going to go into a real garden after this show. But if you notice, I've got quite a few stumps, celebrating the sort of Victorian stumpery era. Yeah. But also I've got little small logs. So even if you just find a nice piece of wood, and I've got some sort of what's called epiphytic plants that like to grow on wood. It's like mosses and lichen, but also I've got Aracema and Polygonatum and things. And you can just plant up a log, and literally in no time at all it will look really beautiful.
I particularly love this path. It's wonderful. I love the colour. Tell me a bit about it.
It's a limestone, and I chose it because it's got really good fossil content, and I wanted to have this sort of air of rusticity, like my wall with the ferns and the stone. So I had it acid etched, so it's slightly rough, and it's very, quite comfortable to walk on in bare feet and things. So it turned out really well. And also you don't want it too white, because of course it would show up all the marks and things like that.
It's really classic. It's got a classic feel. It's just a wonderful garden. I can see why you got your gold. Congratulations.
Thank you.
For this one special week in May, it's not just the garden designers that put on a show. The nurseries also go to incredible lengths to deliver perfection. So we sent Francis Tophill and our very own Mary Berry off to the pavilion in search of some summer stuff.
When it comes to growing alliums, all you need to do is give them a sunny and fairly well-drained position, and they should come back year after year. When you bury the bulbs, make sure they're at least twice the depth of the bulb, and if it's a really big flower head, even deeper, just so it's really well anchored in the soil. Now, squirrels do have a habit of digging up and eating our prized bulbs, but they seem not to be quite so keen on alliums. So if that's a problem for you in your garden, then these might just be your solution. And for something really different, how about this? This is called art, and look at that flower. It's so unusual. Just incredible. And potentially even more striking is this. This is Allium sativum var Ophiosporodon, and it's looking even better just before it flowers than when it flowers. Look at those amazing curly stems. And this one's also edible, which shows there's a lot more to alliums than just their beauty. They have other uses too. This is incredible. If this is not a celebration of the onion family, I don't know what is. And the bees are all enjoying it too. They're a classic cut flower, and you have beautiful flower stems here, but also the dried seed heads. Look at them, they're beautiful. That looks like a purple sensation. The bulbs as well being a part of that cut flower display. Look, little garlic there. And then Schubertii dried and hung up there. It's just breathtaking. I love it.
south, a wall at the back, and fairly rubbish soil.
Right, yeah.
And they look after themselves.
That's exactly how they grow in South Africa as well. So you're mimicking the natural environment, and if you do that, you always get success.
But things have advanced, haven't they? Because the Narine Badeni, this original one, you can now get in a multitude of colours.
Yeah, they come in the dark pinks, the peachy coloured ones like the Vesta, and the Alba, the pure white one. All hardy to -10.
And they're lovely in a vase too.
Yeah, they do last probably 2 to 3 weeks.
They do, if the kitchen's not too hot.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, that's right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Going back home and checking online.
More than 170,000 visitors come to Chelsea during the week of the show to soak up the atmosphere and enjoy the floral fabulousness. It's a special experience, whether you're a newbie or a seasoned visitor. And for our celebrity guests with a passion for gardening, it's always a real treat. I'm joined by BAFTA award-winning impressionist, comedian, actor, pianist and writer, Alistair McGowan. Welcome to Chelsea. Your first time here.
It is, I can't believe it. I did play football here once, years ago, with David Woodale, weirdly. But yeah, first time at the Chelsea Flower Show. And I've loved it. Had a good look round. The rewilding garden as well, the winner, very inspiring. And reminded me a lot of my garden at home, actually.
And
quite wild.
Are you into the growing flowers or is it more produce?
We have a very ornamental garden full of nice flowers, which looks after itself. Well, the gardener comes and looks after that. But for me, I was inspired really by watching Gardeners World over the last 2 or 3 years since moving to a more rural location. And it was Frosty, actually, who said, you know, gardening is just playing. That's all you're doing is you're playing. Some things are going to go right, some things are going to go wrong. Doesn't matter. Just get out there and have a play. And that's what I do. I play and see what comes out. Sometimes it works. Sometimes I get mutant fruit and vegetables. And sometimes I get an apple cellar full of wonderful apples.
And you are learning, aren't you? Because you were basically a Londoner, or you certainly lived here for decades, in a small garden.
Yeah. 30 years in London with a very small garden, but I grew up in Worcestershire, and a lot of my mother's friends and relatives actually were plum growers in Evesham, in the Vale of Evesham. So I grew up surrounded by fruit, spent my student years picking fruit. So now having 2 or 3 plum trees, and I think I've got 6 apple trees in this lovely small orchard I've got at home, I feel very happy there, and it connects me with my youth. And I go out in the summer with a belt around my waist and a basket hanging down there, and I'm never happier than picking all this fruit. And
but you've got loads of apples, haven't you?
Yeah, there was one tree in the first year. Last year was a disaster, as any apple growers will know. But last year, the year before, I think we got, I didn't count them individually, but working it out, I got 3,000 apples off one tree alone.
Wow.
At Bramley. Who would have thought that's how many they give? But
what do you do with them all?
Well, Monty will tell you where we are. I live quite near Monty, and there is a wonderful collection of people. There's the Tenbury Wells Apple Festival every year in Herefordshire, and you can take your apples there. They can be juiced, they can be turned into cider, and of course you can freeze them. So if you stew them, I freeze them. I'm eating apples. I ate apples this morning, which I froze last September.
Can you do Joe Swift as well?
No, I can't do Joe Swift.
What? You've got to be able to do Joseph. That's your next one. You need to be working on that. So you are. Well, that's amazing that you're growing all this stuff. It's what a thing to be doing.
I can't let it go. I mean, a lot of people, you know, they'll have fruit trees in their garden, sometimes several, whether it's rural or urban, and just let the fruit go. I have to pick every last thing. I've got a fruit cage with strawberries and red currants and black currants, and I just have to pick them all, and I freeze them all, make things, cakes. You know, I could have gone on Bake Off with one of my cakes, I think.
But it must have really changed. I mean, you lived in the city for so long. It must have really changed you as a person.
It has, and I have a friend who lives nearby who's another actor, and last summer he was offered a job in the West End, and he actually rang me and said, should I do this job? Or, because it's going to clash with the harvest. And he seriously was contemplating turning down the West End because of the harvest. But I could understand that. You know, you don't want to miss anything.
What about flowers? Do you think you move into those?
I don't know about flowers, but I love the herbs as well, and I get all very Nigel Slater, you know how Nigel Slater when he's doing his cooking will say, I'm just going to go out in the garden and pick some rosemary. I'm going to get some thyme or some tarragon from the garden. And I absolutely love that. So I'm cooking something and I'll say to my wife, you know, I'm just going to get some marjoram, which is my latest, goes beautifully actually with plums. So I get very inspired by people like Nigel Slater. And Raymond Blanc as well, who, you know, Raymond I've known for years. I've seen him on the TV, and he always goes to pick the apples from his orchard to make wonderful things, you know, that his mama used to make for him when he was a little boy, which is wonderful. And I'm the same now, I make the things my mother used to make for me. Angel delight. No, I do apple crumbles and everything. So I've been inspired by the Gardeners World people and the cooking people and being here, and I just love being amongst all the trees in the summer. That's where you'll find me. Belt around my waist, basket down there.
Done.
Plum after plum.
Well,
I'll
Alison,
send
thank
you
you.
some jam.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much for joining me here at
Thank
Chelsea.
you.
I think we can safely say that by next year he'll be doing a very good impersonation of you as well.
Inimitable, Sophie. I'm inimitable.
Really?
I think he's going to don a blonde wig and wear a lovely dress, and he'll look just like Sophie Roworth and sound like you too.
He's got Monty and Adam, though, down to a T.
His Adam Frost is perfect. And he's really into gardening.
He is.
It's
He
lovely
really is.
to see. Now, structures and focal points are always a big feature of the show, and this year has had some fascinating examples, as Arit Anderson found out.
There's no doubt that a focal point in a Chelsea garden is bound to be a head-turner. What interests me is the clever way that designers reimagine structures to give the wow factor. This structure not only supports this beautiful wisteria, but it frames the entrance to the garden and draws you in. The structure has been repeated in shape within the garden, but gives a totally different feel. It's expanded here, so I can actually sit underneath it, and that gives a real sense of being held and secure. And all of this is out of the same material, chestnut, and that gives a cohesion in the whole space. Metalwork details are subtly picked up throughout the garden, and remember, using structures are able to give you a sense of division. Here there's a seating area, over here there's another space which can be used to relax in. Repetition is one of the principles of good design, and this designer has exploited that through the use of materials and shapes to create these wonderful structures. In this garden, the structure emphasises the garden's message. It's the circle of life. And wood has been used in many different ways within this structure. There's a reclaimed telegraph pole as a central support to have all of the radials of cross beams coming off of it. It also gives it a second use. It enables the plants to be able to grow over it. And of course, you can't miss this water wheel. And very cleverly, there are little offcuts of wood that have been used in these round raised beds, emphasising the message of the circularity of life. Now, this really is impactful. I love the way that they have used as much scale and proportion in this very small garden. Sometimes we get a little bit worried about putting large objects in small spaces, but what it does is it makes the space feel bigger. The actual corten steel has been given such a nice finish. Blackened at the beginning here to give it drama, and then it softens into its natural patina of the bronzes and gold tones. And that really is wonderful because it really lifts the palette of plants. You can see the bronzes kind of picking up from the flowers and bouncing off of corten as well. And from the front of the garden, it kind of changes the mood because now instead of getting this deep depth going through the space, you get these small garden rooms and little vignettes, and that tells the story of the garden. Overall, this really works in my world.
The Chelsea Flower Show is a unique platform, not just for great design and great plants, but also a fitting place to honour and remember significant moments in our nation's history, like this one, the RAF Benevolent Fund Garden in commemoration of the Battle of Britain. Lovely to see you, and this is just spectacular. It really stands out here in the showground. Tell us the story behind it.
Well, my father was in the RAF during the war in Bomber Command, and I've been brought up with all the stories of what they did and what all his comrades did. And I got asked to do something about the Battle of Britain, which is a fantastic honour. And I wanted to create something that was eye-catching, that could be viewed from a distance and could retell the story in a modern way. Because I'm very passionate about young people drawn into the stories from the past.
It's definitely eye-catching, and it's a pilot looking up to the skies. And what I love is you've got your son, George, who's only in his early 20s, to model, didn't you? Wearing even your father's watch.
Yes, my father's service watch, which we still have in the family, he actually buried this when he got shot down in 1943, went back in 1947 and dug it up, and it still worked, and he's wearing it now. So it's a great way of linking my son to his grandfather, somebody he never met, but sort of, I feel like it's sort of bringing them together.
What I love about it, though, as well, is different angles where you stand, it changes the perspective, doesn't it? But also the way you can see it, because the legs are almost ghostly, but you've got a really solid bit of, I suppose, history up there, and you know it's from the past just looking at the legs.
Yeah, I mean, when you design sculpture, you never know really how successful it's going to be in real life, but this has been fantastic, and the reaction's been great. I mean, it weighs 7 tons, but it has a quite light feel to it.
You've been very successful with other projects. You did in 2019 a wonderful sculpture that's in France for the commemoration of the D-Day landings.
That's right. We relocated the whole garden from Chelsea in 5 days in time for the 75th anniversary. And we've had over 1 million visitors over the last 4 years to the site. So, yeah, these projects can be amazing and draw new people to the story.
And this one, too, will be relocated, won't it?
That's right. All going to Biggin Hill. The entire garden, you will see it's part of a much larger garden that surrounds it. It's going to be free to access, and it's going to form part of the history trail for the whole Biggin Hill site.
Wonderful. John, lovely to see you, and fantastic sculpture that you brought here to Chelsea. Thanks,
Sophie.
Now, while some of the gardens here have elements you clearly couldn't have at home, if you know where to look, Chelsea always delivers inspiration for those with smaller spaces. Toby Buckland has been out and about to show you all how to get your garden summer ready and perfect for evening entertaining.
We all learned a thing or two while sitting outside during lockdown. But one of them is that our gardens need to be more attractive, more comfortable, work harder for us at night. When choosing flowers for your nighttime garden, there is only one colour, and that's white. Now, during sunny days, white flowers can start to look washed out, but as the sun sets, well, they take on an ethereal glow. Many white flowers are also scented. In this garden, there's lilac, Japanese iris, and this lovely thing. It's a little phlox called May Breeze. There are 2 reasons why it's so heavily scented at night. The first one is that the flowers pulse with more essential oils as the sun goes down. But the second is, as the dew falls and moisture levels rise in the air, our sense of smell becomes more efficient, so we can perceive its perfume more. An effect you can amplify if, like Tony Wood, the designer of this garden, you place your fragrant flowers near a pond. Being comfortable and cosy when you're out in your garden, well, it's a must. And you can go a long way to achieving that by paying attention to the points of the compass, the aspect of your garden, which way it faces, and good garden design. Now, this is the Mine Garden designed by Andy Sturgeon, and it's defined by these shell-shaped concrete walls that wrap around the borders and the seating areas. Well, when you take a perch, they effectively cosset you. Now, Andy's design is a one-off, but you can replicate the principle in any garden, particularly if you have west-facing fences, or even better, a brick wall. Because what they do is they catch the heat of the sun from the afternoon, and the heat in those structures then radiates out from the bricks, keeping you nice and warm. In winter, that effect will keep tender plants alive through the colder months, but on those summer sultry evenings when you're sitting out, it'll keep you toasty too. Like limelight on a stage, garden lights, they add drama. I'm back at Joe Perkins' Meta Garden. It's got great examples of different types of lights, and there are 2 types in design terms. There's ornamental lighting, like this little strip that runs along the stream edge. Other ornamental lights include the one in the bottom of the pond and the uplights on the trees. And then there's the functional lights. In the corner of every one of the stanchions that leads up to the top of this timber dome is an uplight, but the source of the light is hidden behind foliage, so it's not blinding. Now, I don't know about in your street, but in mine, there's not many of these domes. However, you can copy this effect so simply by using P lights and string them up inside a parasol or a tree in your garden, and the effect is exactly the same. And if you're having a soiree and the conversation dries up, what about this? I love this feature. It's not something you can copy, is it? But every garden should have one.
Isn't it gorgeous seeing all the gardens lit up like that at night?
Yeah, beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, the showground certainly has a different atmosphere once evening comes around. Now, one theme across many of the gardens here this week has been how to connect children with nature.
Getting kids interested in gardening at an early age is really important, and it was a topic close to the heart of Dad of Two, JJ Chalmers.
Herbs is such a wonderful hands-on practical learning tool. All of these plants have been brought on from seed by the kids themselves, and it is wonderful. They're able to learn about life cycles, they're able to reap the rewards of their hard work. They'll be able to cook and eat what they have grown themselves. And these raised beds are absolutely perfect. Wheelchairs can get alongside, and anybody with low mobility, well, they can perch on the edge as well. What they've got in the bed here is pretty much what I've got at home as well, and I love gardening with my kids, and they particularly love getting stuck into the vegetable patch because, well, they can get their hands dirty. I was literally planting out the peas with my daughter over the weekend. We'll often send her out to cut a little sprig of rosemary when we're doing the cooking, and it's a bit of a jungle. My son loves things like this, the beans that are climbing. It is just wonderful, and, well, you just want to get stuck right into it. Well, the kids said they wanted to grow a garden from weeds, and when we traditionally think of weeds, well, it's just plants that are in the wrong place, really. And if you want them, they're not weeds anymore. Things like brambles can give you fruit, nettles can be made into soups and teas. A tree, well, it can give you shelter. The kids are taught how to forage safely, cook food on a campfire, and they're given a sense that there's so many things around them that occur naturally that can be used. Green spaces aren't just a place you kick a football around in. Everything and everyone has its worth.
It's just great that, you know, people are getting kids involved in gardening more and more. And there's not that many kids allowed at the show, in a certain age category, but there's ideas you can take home and garden with your kids, and that's where it all starts, I think.
Well, that's the great thing about Chelsea this year as well. You've got these great show gardens where there are plenty of ideas for people to take home, but also the balcony gardens, the container gardens, which are down there on the triangle, have been given much more prominence. And they're really small spaces, but they are very sort of translatable, aren't they?
Well, totally, and gardens are getting smaller. You know, the more houses we build, new house builds, some people don't have any gardens or even outdoor space like a balcony, only an indoor space to garden as well. But, you know, the thing is, you know, I'm getting to the stage now, all these gardens are going to be dismantled. And, you know, I can't watch my garden go. I'm not going to be here. It's just sort of, it's too wrenching to see it all put together. But the great thing is that the RHS are going to stipulate from next year that all gardens have got to live on after. There's a sustainability aspect. Mine's going to go to a school in London anyway, and we're going to take the hard landscaping away and plant it up in the autumn. A great time for planting.
I know, it's such a shame, isn't it? I mean, you think these gardens, and we watched them. You built yours. It took 3 weeks to build.
Yep.
And then next week, it'll all be gone.
It's the Chelsea Flower Show.
I know, but it's really heartbreaking. And I know I've spoken to so many people over the years who, like you, say, I just can't be here because all that hard work that people have put into this, and there are huge teams of people who are planting these.
It's also an excuse because we're absolutely exhausted, you see. We can go and have a lie down in a dark room for a few days.
You certainly can. But before it is all dismantled, I think we do need to remind ourselves of some of the category winners who have triumphed this year.
Houseplants were a big hit this year, with 6 studios taking part. And it was Planet Studio which reigned supreme as best in show. They dazzled with their disco balls and beautiful planting.
The Floristry and Floral Design Awards looked as sophisticated as always this year, with Best Floral Window going to Jane Belcher on her theme of pollination, and Best Installation went to Dimitri Turkin for his dreamy tablescape.
And it was good to see the balcony and container category back again this year. And standards were high across the 9 different gardens. But the one judged to be the best by the RHS was the Still Garden, with its beautiful depiction of Scotland.
Well, earlier this week, we invited you to be judge and jury when we asked you to vote for the BBC RHS People's Choice Award. You voted in your thousands, and your winner was the Perennial Garden with Love.
And here I am with Richard Myers. Richard, your garden's really grown throughout the week. I mean, when did you finish planting? About a week ago, is it?
It was exactly a week ago. We finished the last of the planting up at the top of the garden. And this rain we've had, it's been a shame for the crowds, but it's been wonderful for the gardens.
Perfect for growing, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, and down here, the pool and the chamomile lawn.
Excuse me.
Oh, hello.
I have something I think you might like to know about.
Okay, sure.
Turn around.
Richard, congratulations. You are the BBC RHS People's Choice winner, Chelsea Flower Show. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well done.
It's been a very emotional week. It's been emotional 3 weeks. I'd like to thank everyone, all my team, Perennial, my team, Stuart Landscapes, everyone who, Form Plants, everyone, and the BBC for your coverage.
What does it mean to you, though? Come on.
Oh, it's been amazing standing here all week and people just saying, we love your garden, we love your garden, we can recreate that bit, we can recreate that. It's been amazing.
I mean, it's a lovely garden, and that is a big one, the People's Choice Award. Congratulations.
I think you need to hold it above your head. Come on, there we go. Hey, congratulations.
So, Richard, how are you feeling right now?
Emotional, so emotional. I mean, amazing, absolutely amazing. But it's incredible. This garden has created an emotional response with people. They've come up to me and they said, oh, we love it, and then they start crying. People cried. I had 2 people get engaged.
Really?
Oh, amazing, yeah.
What on the garden or
up there? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going up there then.
No, not with me. The first time they were, the guy was on his knee for about a minute and a half before his girlfriend said yes. So quite fun.
It's a very romantic garden, isn't it? It is a romantic.
With love.
And it's a classical garden, and I think people can really connect with it.
Yeah.
They think, I'd love to have a garden like that.
Yeah.
And it's the only formal layout in the whole show as well, which I think people love.
They do. I like to say timelessly elegant. But,
yes, that's your line, timelessly elegant.
Timelessly elegant. But yes, no, it is. I love symmetry. It really appeals to us. We're symmetrical as humans, and it works for us.
Yeah, and that is a big, there's a lot of designers who've been at Chelsea for many years who have never got People's Choice, because it means you've completely connected with the viewers who have seen this garden on telly as well.
And it's very simple. I mean, the palette is very simple, white and plums. Sometimes less is more.
Yeah, I mean, you really could lift some of this planting up, take it home and use it in your own garden, couldn't you?
You really can.
And there's a sort of classic Chelsea palette here as well, foxgloves and alliums and lupins, but you've weaved them all the way through. Yes. And I love the chamomile lawn too.
It just makes a lovely, lovely horizontal foil for the rest of the garden, or the uprights of the rest of the garden.
Yeah, and the formality with the trees, running through. And then, of course, you're largely on site. That's quite a risky thing to do in a garden, I'd say, a very modern neon sign as a focal point at
why
the back.
not? Why not? You need a focal point, and I've been wanting to do one for a long time, and it's perfect.
Yeah, it's a great quote. I mean, it gives a contemporary twist to the whole space
Absolutely.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are you going to do now, Richard? Are you going to go and have a glass of champagne or something? Celebrate?
I think we deserved one. The team, perennial, absolutely amazing team. Charity, this is going to be great for them. They help people in horticulture.
Yeah.
It's a hard life for some people. And yeah, no, absolutely. I think we will be cracking open the champagne now and celebrating.
Perennial are a fabulous charity.
Absolutely. I'm so happy for them. They're a great team behind them. My great team, the landscaping team behind it, Stuart Landscapes. Really excited. Really happy for everyone. It means so much more.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
So, thank you, Jay. Really amazing.
Fantastic team. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, it's so nice. And I mean, he was really disappointed with his medal, and this is a lovely end to the week. What a beautiful garden and a well-deserved winner of the People's Choice Award.
Well, people really connected with this garden, didn't they? I think they just like a sort of more traditional, more recognisable garden. But do you know what, Jim? My favourite garden in the whole showground is this one with bees.
No way.
Yeah, the one with bees over there. Have you seen it?
Oh, behave yourself.
I helped plant it, actually.
Well, I know
Did
you
you
helped.
know that?
No, I know you were there for a couple of hours, so we're never going to hear the end of it, are we? Well, thank you, and it's still looking good now when the sun comes out, and I think people are really appreciating it, and the bees are loving it, which is what it's all about.
The bees are loving it, aren't they?
For me, it's Andy Sturgeon's, actually, and, you know, he's an old mate of mine, and he always delivers a beautiful garden, but when the light cuts through there in the late afternoon, and the planting is just exquisite, and there's places to sit and views through, and, you know, he is a master of planting at the top of his game.
I also loved Sarah Eberle's because it's just so dramatic.
Yeah.
And she worked so hard on that garden. And even she said to me just before the show opened, it's even better than I thought it would be. And it was beautiful.
It was a huge risk to take, and it paid off. And, you know, it's a one-off. You're never going to see anything like that again. And that's what Chelsea's all about, really, isn't it? Well, it's not just us that have been inspired. Here are our BBC One family with the ideas they'll be taking away from Chelsea this year.
My Chelsea takeaway would be this beautiful hide from the rewilding garden. I can imagine myself, a cup of herbal tea, early morning, and just sitting quietly watching the wildlife go by. Pure heaven.
My Chelsea inspiration is this magnificent statue in the heart of the RAF Benevolent Fund garden. It is both stunning but somehow simple and captures a moment in history. And the garden it sits in isn't just beautiful, but it's also a practical, reflective space.
If I could take one thing home from the Chelsea Flower Show, it would be the atmosphere of Charlie Hawke's exquisite woodland garden here in the marquee. You're stood in the middle of it, and our slightly mad, busy world just disappears.
Something I'll take away from Chelsea this year is how important and vital outdoor spaces can be for people, whether that's big spaces or contained balconies. It's about creating your own personal heaven that gives you joy, and I love that.
It is a wonderful Chelsea. For me, it's quite the highlight of the year. I love the water features, and there are lots. And they've made wonderful use of small spaces, maybe a little trickle down through plants, or a container with water in. It has a great calming effect, and it really feels peaceful. And that's what I love.
If there's one thing I would take from this year's Chelsea, it would be this garden, but that's not going to happen. So second best would be these magnificent hawthorn pleach trees. Just look at the way the dappled light hits these beautiful borders below. But you can use pleach trees for privacy. So instead of perhaps building a brick wall or buying ugly fencing for your garden or yard, you can actually have trees the whole way along, giving you some privacy, looking stunning, encouraging wildlife into your garden, and they're also so much better for the planet.
With all the flowers and colour here at Chelsea, it might seem unlikely, but my take-home is this spike moss or Selaginella. I mean, it's the colour of Shrek, and as versatile as he is robust. It grows anywhere in shade, from walls, cracks in paving to pots. You can even use it as a house plant. I think it's brilliant.
I'm definitely taking away from Chelsea this bit of dry stone walling. Actually, it's made of Exmoor slate and it's called a Devon hedge. And because I garden in the Cotswolds, this to me is really exotic.
Well, that is it from us for another year. We hope that you've enjoyed everything that this show has had to offer and that you've got plenty of ideas and inspiration for your own gardens at home.
What a wonderful week. From the Royal Horticultural Society's Chelsea Flower Show 2022, an event supported by the Newt in Somerset.
We will see you again next year, 2023. In the meantime, have a great summer. Goodbye.
Bye.